Very good morning to all ladies and gentlemen present here, most distinguished award winners, Dr. Stephen Kaufman and Dr. Anjan Ray. I think both of them do not need any introduction for those who have been working or been associated with this field. And I personally have heard some very enlightening talks by Dr. Anjan Ray himself, and always look forward to his contribution to the sector. Because what is at hand is more important at times than what is being looked upon into the future. Because the problem is here and now. And the issue is really to correct our behavior patterns, to understand the chemistry of things, along with a realization that no technological progress or industrial development or distributed justice can take place without a proper assessment of funding needs, the time frame that is required to attain that objective, setting milestones for the movement, and at the same time, recognizing those who are making stellar contributions to this venture. Sportsmen have always been heroes from the days of the Olympia, and they were honored with laurel wreaths, with whole stadia cheering them. That's the oxygen and the energy that is required. And we are assembled here, first of all, to salute those who have done stellar work. Not for this honor, but really for the future of civilization and for a livable planet, I would say. Those who mess up things or have messed up in the past may not be living today. But the problem is for today and the world for the future as we see it. We talk about it collectively, but unfortunately, we do not act upon it collectively. We look upon most of these situations at times as profit-making possibilities into the future and domination of technologies. The world has started to think as one, and no results will be achieved till we act as one. If the world is one family and every global citizen is a citizen of this planet, then the resources, the technology, and policy initiatives should be applied uniformly. We took certain pledges at Kyoto, common but differentiated responsibilities. Our distinguished friend from Japan had to leave urgently, but that was a landmark decision. But in between, I think we got nudged by more powerful wrestlers in the arena. This common but differentiated responsibility can, I think, be summarized as a common responsibility. We did not talk about differentiated responsibility. If it's a common responsibility, it becomes the responsibility of every global power, technology, or civilization to share technology with others, just as members in a family. Because resources are distributed unevenly, and we do realize that it is one planet. And the wrong actions of a section of the planet can cause global harm. Just today and the day before, I was reading reports on confirmed alarming rises in sea level globally, which will sink a number of cities. In fact, my first brush with this was in the year 1994, when I just stepped out of the Department of Atomic Energy to do a fellowship in Oxford on energy and sustainable development. And I realized that global warming is a looming reality. Few were prepared to believe it, and the rise in seawater particularly. Secondly, it was talked about that hydrogen could be a fuel for the future, and probably is a fuel for the future. It's been a long journey, almost 30 years, and today we are still talking about it. What color of hydrogen? That is now the debate. Various shades of the spectrum, but we all agree that green hydrogen is the best. If it is the best, we must collectively, as a global entity, work towards that direction. If it cannot happen at once, then the periods of transition must be settled, and settled in a time-bound manner. In the recently concluded Meet of Nations at Sharm el-Sheikh, which was hosted by Egypt, for a moment it seemed that consensus is going to elude us. Like in any family dispute, there are disagreements. There are moments when the richer amongst us do not want to part with our riches and feel that we have a right to continue to be rich. And if the opportunity provides to become richer. But then ultimately, good sense prevailed, and we dispersed, at least in harmony, if not with greater enthusiasm. Just this week, I was reading a statement by the minister of that very country which hosted this meet. And his view was that the results that we had envisaged there at Sharm el-Sheikh will not come about till global finances are available for achieving this objective. And finances are needed more for those who do not have them or do not have the technology. I think his plain theme was that if we merely keep saying that reduce emissions, it is not going to happen till you increase the availability of funds to those who have to reduce emissions, as well as those who have to yet attain the benefits of energy. Because energy, particularly commercial energy, is the key to any industrialization, to any modern living, or what is desirable living. There was talk of gas, natural gas, as a bridge fuel, moving towards cleaner fuels. There's still talk of it, but moments of conflict have shown, if not other tensions in the last 10 years at least that I've been observing, that those who have the commodity do not lose an opportunity to raise its price to garner profits. Okay, do it if you have the commodity today, but please part with it for the future. It's very good if I have rich relatives, but if those relatives do not contribute towards alleviation of my poverty, it will not bring harmony, it will not bring the desired results. Meets like this bring our similar minds together. Cooperation must come first from political hearts, and secondly from business interests. Some of the best philanthropies in the world have come from those who are very rich. Because the time comes when they realize that you have to share this wealth. It may come later in life, but it has to come. But the clock is ticking very fast for each one of us. This meet is divided virtually into 11 sessions, as you would all know, right from digital transformation in E&P industry to improve efficiencies, advanced biofuels, because some fuels, we realize the same properties can be obtained from biofuels, not from the petroleum hydrocarbons. The greening of coal, as Dr. Govt talked about, towards zero carbon emissions, future fuels and green energy transition, skill and leadership development in industry. This is extremely important because unless we provide jobs in future technologies for our future generations and even the present generation, which has to reorient itself into new modes of technology, this transition can never be equitable or just. Finance is one part, retraining your workforce or preparing the future generation for the future is an equally great task, which unfortunately is being missed out. There's been talk of coal gasification, and we will talk more about it, and coal to liquids, bioenergy, biotechnology, biodiesel, biomethane, bio-LPG, and ultimately moving towards net zero. It will be in stages, hopefully. But we as a beginning in this country have begun by ethanol blending, something which was very rampant in Brazil. When I was with the Petroleum Ministry, I had the occasion to go there and try and foster a relationship between Brazil and India In fact, the present Minister for Petroleum was the ambassador there at that point of time, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri. And of course, we had been neighbors as Joint Secretary in Delhi, living in the same building. And I'm so glad that he is in charge, so that he knows the prospects of ethanol blending and the green economy. Now, when we're talking of energy transition for the future, a few thoughts come to my mind which were validated recently in the discussions which took place at the G20 meet, which India has assumed a significant presidency. And India's theme is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is, one family for the common good of entire humanity. But there are hard realities which we have to realize, and at least I think 6 issues have been identified there in that meet. The first is energy transition through addressing technology gaps. If we have to transit, we've got to realize where the gaps are and try and fill those gaps if we have to move together. Then low-cost financing for energy transition. Unless finances are available at an affordable cost, it will not come about, as I mentioned earlier. The third is energy security and diversified supply chains. You need energy security. You cannot depend on only one supplier. You have to have multiple suppliers, and preferably decentralized modes of supply. And when you have diversified supply chains, it talks of free trade, it talks of removal of barriers, and it talks of some understanding not to capitalize on the moments of scarcity. We've had very ugly moments in the famines in this part of the world, where some people became very rich because of the scarcity of grain. Same will happen for energy. It applies to any fungible commodity. The fourth is energy efficiency. We can never lose sight of that, whatever be the fuel. The fifth is fuels for the future. Obviously, at the moment, green hydrogen as well as biofuels. And we are working towards it, though I think not as fast as we ought to. Food grain goes waste. Its marketing has problems. Those of us who are associated with the land and farming sector can vouch for it. Then the sixth is universal access to clean energy. Till that clean energy reaches everybody, the objective is not achieved. Storage is an issue that will continue to haunt us. We're talking of electric vehicles, but electric vehicles will need battery storage. And the movement should not be from oil oligarchies to lithium or other oligarchies. It will only be replacing one form of inequality with another. At the moment, whoever it seems has lithium has got gold in the vaults. In India, we recently had an item 2-3 days back which talked of very promising lithium reserves in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Yes, this was a find almost 10 years ago. But still we are on the inferred stage. I think we need to act much more swiftly to be able to assess what the situation is. Now, if we have to move into the future, then we have to bring down, if we're going towards green hydrogen, the cost of electrolyzers, fuel cells, then carbon capture, utilization and storage. As Power Secretary of the country, I was a member of a select group of countries which was the Carbon Leadership Forum. At that time, it was only carbon capture and storage, CCS. I had protested that time, I remember distinctly, in the meeting, not only at Hawaii, but also in Cape Town. That was in 2007 and 8. That we have to work towards utilization. In fact, one of the developed countries asked me, "Why are you here?" I said, "I'm here because I'm looking at the future and not looking only at today." If you merely capture and store carbon, you are sweeping the problem under the carpet. You've got to handle that element. It's the most useful element. You've got to find a use for it. Then there's advanced chemistry cells for battery storage. One technology may not be the final answer. You've got to keep searching. Then small modular nuclear reactors, because I feel that still you need baseload power, which is non-fossil fuel. But the task is daunting. If one assessment is correct, I'll try and share with you that to reach net zero, when we're talking about these targets, said 90% of the world's electricity in 2050 must come from renewable energy. And 2050 is not very far away. And solar capacity has to increase 17 times between 2020 and 2050. And battery storage by 51 times almost in the same time period. Now, these are some stark realities which we must be aware of. And we have in our midst young people also who will essentially be sitting and standing at the same place where we are there when we are not in this arena anymore. And it's for them to realize what the future demands of us, and there is very little time to move towards it and to act fast, collectively, and with the most efficient way forward. Thank you very much for listening patiently. Thank you.